Hey, welcome to the She Grows podcast. I'm Danielle Doss.
And I'm Jen Matthews.
And we are so excited, not only because we are recording today, but also because we are recording one of our very favorite series. It's our Summer with Friends. And you guys love it. We love it. And here's the thing. This specific podcast is going to be so very helpful. Not that they're not all helpful, but this one is going to be so helpful because it's going to answer some questions that you may have for people that you love. And so just take advantage of that share button and just send on to make sure that not only you're better equipped, but that the people around you are also better equipped.
Welcome to Summer of Friends. We love these conversations so much, and today we get to introduce you to our first friend of this summer. We're trying to introduce you to some of the people that we love so very much that bring a lot of value to us, and we know they're going to bring value to you. And this one is a very special one, Miss Lindsey Brackin. Hey, Lindsey.
Hello. Welcome.
We're so excited
Welcome
to hear
the
this.
Studio.
Yes.
It's like so nice.
Well, tell our friends just a little bit about you in case they are new to your face or voice.
Well, so hey, I'm Lindsey. From the Birmingham area. I've been going to Cultivate Church now for about a little over 3 years or so.
Yeah.
But grew up in Birmingham, went to Auburn for college, had the lovely pleasure of meeting my husband, Ben, while I was down there. Moved back up here to start my job full-time as a labor and delivery nurse. And then Ben and I got married. And as some of you may know his face more so than mine. He serves as our next gen pastor here at Cultivate Church.
Yeah.
So he basically is the pastor for kids from birth up until graduation. And so not only do I get to work as a labor and delivery nurse, but I also get to kind of serve alongside him with this next generation. On Sundays, you'll see me in Kids Wing most of the time or out in the lobby with our Student Connect team. And then on Wednesday nights, you'll see me at students, serving with them, and just getting to love on them. So,
And then
love
also,
it.
she's got a little bump. And when I say
Oh,
little, like the
yes.
littlest bump.
This ain't hamburgers, though.
yes, I
Yeah.
promise I did have a good lunch today, but just the lunch in there. There's a little baby girl.
Little baby girl.
Due in literally just like
A few weeks.
4 weeks.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no time.
I know, it's
Maybe
crazy.
she'll stay in there for 4 weeks.
She better. For my sake and Ben's sake.
Oh
She
my
better.
gosh, I love it. It's so exciting. It's so exciting. Well, we're really excited for this conversation.
Yeah.
Because we have been on the mentor train for a long time now, just trying to get the generations to connect, right? And there's,
Yeah.
I know that every single generation looks at the next generation and goes, "You guys are idiots." Right? They're like everyone.
Yeah.
From back when we grew up in church, it was like, "Why are you bringing a guitar
How
into worship?"
depressing, too.
I know.
To be a kid and be like, my God, they all hate me.
But like, so we're trying to bridge gaps today.
Yeah.
Like, I don't
Yeah.
know exactly what all ages are watching or listening, but I do think they're more probably not teenagers, but maybe they are. So I want them to feel honored if they're listening.
Yeah.
But specifically to our age group and older, to bridge some gaps here, to go, the only way to ever disciple anyone, whether there's a generation gap or not, is to enter their territory,
Yeah,
right? It's
that's
not
right.
about bringing people to you. It's about going to them.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I know the old people in my life that I valued the most were the ones who are like, you know what, I do hate your music, but bravo, because you're reaching somebody new. Like,
Sure.
I would never be going to your church, but thank you for reaching somebody I can't reach.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that are like, I want to be you when I grow up. And so this is a step in that direction. You're here to help us be them when we grow up. No
Yes.
pressure.
Yeah.
Yes.
On behalf of all of the
All
older
the elders.
generation.
The elder millennials,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah.
I know. Even sometimes, like serving in students, like I have to remind them, "Hey, I'm only a few years older than you." Okay,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
they'll look at me
Yeah.
thinking I'm
You got
so
it
much
together,
older than
sis.
them, and I'm
Yes.
like, no. Now, like I'm only a few years older than you. Even when we were like preparing for this conversation and things like that, I had to remember to look up what generation I was a part of, because I
that's
don't
funny.
I don't really look at to me age is just a number.
Yeah.
And so I don't really pay attention to, I'm set by this standard because I'm a part of this generation, or things like that. And so then I was like, well, I am one of them.
Yeah.
Where do you actually fall?
Yeah.
I think Gen Z.
Okay,
I'm a
that's what I figured.
2001.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Because it's
Gen
weird
Z.
to me now that Gen Z aren't the littles anymore. It's like we're in Gen Alpha now and all the things.
Oh, I know.
And it's
It
a
just keeps
predominant Gen
going.
Alpha. I think that they've come out with a different generation. It's like Gen Beta.
Beta,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
It's like
didn't know
starting now, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so Libby will
much.
be Gen
a
Beta, I guess.
Yeah.
It's wild.
And it is true that, like, while people who look down on our generation as we aged, whatever, they had their differences, whatever. But this is probably the biggest change in the way people are raised.
Sure.
Probably within the millennials is where it kind of like old school life and tech life kind of crossed over. And so there is a whole new people who aren't forward thinking on purpose will say, like, this generation's soft. Oh, they're not resilient. Oh, they don't know what hard work is. Oh, they don't. So, it takes some different thinking to get out of our set in stone ways. And maybe not everything is wrong in that, but it's like, okay, but how do we bridge the gap and go, but you've still got this strength and this strength and this strength, so let's figure out how to do it all together.
Yeah.
And so that's hopefully where our conversation can kind of lead today, is like, how do we step in and be what they need?
Yeah, I think that so many times, like, the generation ahead is looking for the younger generation to speak their language, or to come to them and say, like, no, that's not how we talk. When genuinely, just like you said, any bit of discipleship, any bit of mentorship requires this movement. Jesus came in, he got familiar before there was transformation. So there is such a huge wall that has to be broken down to where we're moving forward and not expecting for the next generation to come towards us.
Yeah.
Because there are so many things at play with it. What do you think, why do adults often misunderstand we'll just say Gen Z and Gen Alpha?
I think a lot of it honestly has to do with social media. I feel like Gen Z and Gen Alpha, we were growing up in the time when social media was becoming a bigger thing. People are getting phones a lot earlier. They have a lot more access to a lot of different things. And they have a lot more opinions, I think, surrounding them than like maybe older generations did, because their friend circle or community has just expanded so much, whether they're meeting people on different platforms or in schools. Like, there's a lot of kids in schools now. Like, schools are huge compared to what they used to be.
Yeah,
like,
that's
I
fair.
graduated in a class of like 300, but I know like there's some people that graduate in a class of like maybe 50, you know?
Yeah.
And so just knowing that like there's a lot more opinions that I feel like are able to surround this new generation. And now they're kind of looking for guidance on who's the best voice to listen to in a sense. And I think that's where the older generation can come in and be that voice for them, and like someone that they can look to in those situations. So I feel like social media is probably the biggest thing I would say that's happening with like Gen Z and Gen Alpha, is they have so much more access to a lot more things than people older than them did.
And
That's
like you
true.
said, all the voices, all the different voices that come, which poses, I've had this conversation, I know we've had this conversation, I've had this conversation with my dad. I grew up in a household of, it was yes sir, yes ma'am. And I'm raising children in a different generation to ask questions. And sometimes that can come across as disrespectful. But when we are empowering for them to be thinkers for themselves, and where we want them to be able to understand the why behind stuff, like to my parents' generation, that lands away.
Yeah.
Because it's like, who are you?
Who are you to question
Why are
me?
you?
Yeah.
So for the
Yes.
person that's like, no, it's a do as I say and don't ask questions. That's not the world that we live in now.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
very much like, I need to see authenticity. I need to see that you're real, especially in a world where social media is just literally could be any and everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think a lot too, like there's a lot of like influencers out there now. And depending on who it is that they're looking to determines the kind of influence that that person has on them. I know like a lot of times there's that term like Christian influencers that comes out. And they will have like their devotional time, and it'll be them sitting at like a coffee shop with their little coffee and their Bible open, and people will automatically think that that's what their faith has to look like, or that's what their journey has to look like.
Yeah.
And just being that voice of reason with them, that's going to look different for everybody.
Yeah.
And just simply being there just to listen to them and letting them ask those questions. There was actually a conference that we went to not too long ago, and I got to sit in on a breakout session that was literally called Discipling the Next Generation.
Okay.
And through one of those things, one of the things that stood out to me that she had talked about was a lot of times discipleship, it's more about heart transformation and not behavior modification.
That's so good.
And
Yes.
that was like the one thing that stood out to me the most, because like a lot of times if somebody's coming to you asking you questions and you're not in a place where you may be the parent, they're not looking for you to discipline them. They're looking for you to disciple them and to show them what it means to walk in the way of Christ and things like that. And a lot of times it's because they want to know the why behind, well, why do I need to do this? Why do I need to read my Bible?
Yeah.
Why do I need to pray? What is the importance behind these things? Because what is in their heart will flow out, and that's what their actions will follow. Like thinking back to Proverbs 4:23, like guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. And so in those situations, like they need to know the why behind why they're doing something. And so a lot of it is more about heart transformation and not that behavior modification standpoint.
Yeah.
So
And their lack of, or their the amount of questions that they have is not showing this rebellion or even just like a lack of faith. It is, they need to understand. And what a gift that we have a generation coming up that it is true. It's going to be because they believe it, because
They
it is
understand,
their
yeah.
faith.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and I read a quote, I saw a quote recently that got me, because, you know, they have more information than anybody. Like you said, they just exposed to so much more. They can be, we've had a podcast about being discipled by algorithm. Like they can be on Instagram or on TikTok and get full sermons and all the Christian influencers and all the things. But the quote said that information is not formation. And I was like,
That's good.
formation, it happens through discipleship, and that happens through relationship. That doesn't happen online. And they don't know to look for anything other than online. Like, why would they? Like, that's their search engine above Google or anything. It's going to be like going to TikTok or something.
Yeah.
And the difference in having that voice that is just steady, like you're talking about, is what's going to help form them as people, and not to bring discipline, not to try to like, don't act like that, don't be like that. Gen Alpha, from my understanding, is just feral. Like that's what they keep saying. They're just crazy. And it's not our job, if it's not your child, to make them less crazy, but to go, you know what? Crazy might be the new kind of worship, the new kind of light. Who knows what's next?
Yeah.
You guys are going to do something insane.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But if your heart's in it, in the right place, with the right actual perspective,
Yeah.
that's what we can help you with, is
Yeah.
forming
Exactly.
that.
Yeah.
What would you say, what does disciple look like in the year 2026? Like, what does it look like as you are not only in the kids wing, like it's literally from zero, but also all the way through graduate or through seniors? What does discipleship look like?
And I think a lot of times it may look different for everybody. I know sometimes there's like discipleship groups that people are a part of, where they literally have a group that like meets weekly and they talk through life and things like that. I think in the sense for me right now, just with where I serve and things like that, in Kids Wing on Sundays, it's just being consistent, but also just like if I see the kids in the hallway, I may not be their teacher for that day, but I'm like, hey, what's up? Like, how's it going? You know, just making sure that they like see that I am valuing them. Like I see them, even if I may not physically be in the room with them, but like, hey, I still see you. Like, so glad you're here. Things like that. And I would say for our students more so, I try to be more intentional with them, more in the sense, I am a pretty busy person outside of serving and working and things like that. I may not have the time to sit there and have a set time each week where I'm able to say, hey, let's meet up. But it may be something as simple as a quick text, like, hey, just thinking about you.
Yeah, small.
What can I do for you this week? Or, hey, like, I noticed you haven't been at students the past couple of weeks. Is everything okay? Like, what's going on? Like, can I be praying for you? Things like that. Just showing them that I'm still there, and it may not be I may not be physically able to be there, but that's like the beauty kind of phones nowadays
Yeah.
is like it can be a quick text away. Like, hey,
Yeah.
just letting you know I'm thinking about you. Like I remember what we talked about the other night. How are you feeling about that conversation? Things like that. So I feel like that's
good.
more how discipleship looks like now so much like nowadays
Yeah.
than it may have looked differently back then.
Yeah, I think you feel like you have to have this like perfect presentation. I have to know exactly what to say. What if they ask me a question that I don't know the answer to? And really, it has everything to do, you said it, that consistency and showing up, seeing somebody. I think often on Sundays about someone who's just coming in and leaving. And there's not ever this level of like, did anybody even see me come through the doors?
Yeah.
And sometimes that is on the person that's walking through the door. But I think about the kids that maybe just go in and have zero relationship, like
Yeah.
zero, and the opportunities that are missed and literally robbed for them to have another adult to actually see them, to say, hey, like all the rich conversations that you have in those little bitty texts that are building this consistency, that are building the trust, that's building that safety, that literally does open up to discipleship.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think you hit on so many different things just now, from not having the right answers to not knowing how to, think a lot of authenticity hit the internet, I think, in our generation. And so now they don't know anything different than people just being whatever. So it's not special to them anymore. But to take that from the internet to real life, and in real life, authenticity still holds weight to say, I don't know the answer. Let's figure it out together. Because you got the same Google as I do. So why don't we sit down and figure this answer out? Or let's call somebody who knows, But like, I know I can get in my own head before I ever even get up to a teenager and be like, oh, they think I'm so stupid. They think I'm so stupid. They think I'm so stupid. But sometimes we got to get over ourselves, right?
Yeah.
What would actually cause them to shut out an adult and be like, ew?
I was going to say, I feel like a lot of times it's more of where they think the adult's motives are. Like, are they coming from a place of judgment, or are they coming from a place of, I'm calling you to a higher standard? Like, I'm not saying this because I don't love you. Like, this is coming from a place of love. And I think especially a place of grace, and knowing that if you messed up, hey, it's okay. Or, hey, if you don't know the answer, that's okay. Hey, I might not know the answer either. And I know there's even, like, being in student ministry, I mean, there's sometimes kids will come up to me and ask me something, and I may not have personally walked through that situation before.
Yeah.
And I may not know the answers, but I can point them to somebody who does. Well, ultimately, Jesus.
Sure.
But even other people within the church that may be a little older, maybe a little wiser than me, that may know that answer. And so I think sometimes a kid may shut an adult out because they may not feel comfortable with them. Maybe it's because that adult's not super consistent in their lives. Maybe it's because they're afraid of, like, they're going to judge me because they're older than me. And, like, I'm just a kid. Like, and I think a lot of times teenagers have this misconception, that everybody kind of looks at them as, like, the rotten teenagers, like, oh,
Sure.
like, ugh, things like that. And so I think a lot of times for them to shut out an adult, it's probably because they think it's more of like, what's the motive here? Like, where are they coming from? Are they doing this because they actually love me? Like, they actually care for me?
Yeah.
Kind of like more like the curiosity, like the why would they want to talk to me about these things?
Yeah.
Or, things like that. So I feel like that would probably be like one of the main reasons that they would be more prone to shut them out.
I feel like getting out of your head in the little moments before it matters, quote unquote, matters. I've seen this with your daughter, because if you don't know, there's nobody more intimidating than Isabella Dawes.
She'll love that.
She got that Gen Z stare down, and
From the womb.
from the womb will stare you down and give you nothing. And so, like, my mom said people would hand me back as a child. They'd be like, "Oh no, because I would stare them down." And so I get it. But it was like, okay, I'm just going to stop thinking she thinks I'm stupid and just start texting silly things, like about something pointless or whatever. And it's like I started getting more emojis, and then I started getting little exclamation marks, then I started getting some little smiles in real life and like little waves in
It's like
real
the
life. I was like,
warm up.
oh my God, we're getting there. To where it's like, okay, well, when something actually happens. And so I started trying that with other kids too. Like, and I'm like, okay, I know now that when something actually happens, it's building that consistency as opposed to like, I've always wanted to freak out in the moment and be like, how do I be there for this person in this big way?
Yeah.
And maybe it's not a big way all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
You know?
I was just going to say, I feel like consistency, but also with that, there's connection. There's actual conversations that they are feeling like they're so comfortable to be able to open up occasionally with a little emoji that's
Tiny
in.
little thing.
The one thing, especially whenever you're parenting and it's like your firstborn and you're entering into an unfamiliar world, there is so much correction. But genuinely, I think the trick of it is that they, and I'm still learning some, and you can speak to this, but I think sometimes they just need to be able to say the thing without feeling like I'm going to get a lecture on it or that I'm going to get in trouble for just like saying what I need to say, as opposed to like I'm automatically assuming what they are going to say, so I'm not even going to open up my mouth. And so like that freedom, the consistency, but also that connection of like, that person really is for me. And so when the time for correction comes, it's not just like, well, that person's getting on to me and they don't know you. Why are you getting on to me? I don't know you.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm saying, I think that's the beauty that I've seen or have noticed with serving in student ministry is there are some students that come up to me and they tell me things that I'm like, have you talked to your parents about
Oh
this?
my.
You know, I'm like, oh my. But I'm also like, I listen not to like to hear and not just to respond. Like sometimes they don't need a response from you. Sometimes they do just need somebody that they feel comfortable with, because I mean, I pretty much am there every Wednesday. I'll be coming in my scrubs, or I'm off and I'm there like on time, or I may be running in the door, turning in 2 wheels at 7 p.m. when we start. But it's a face that they know, like they know I'm there. And even with a lot of our student leaders, like they know that we're there for them. And so they're able to come up to us because they feel comfortable in knowing this is someone who isn't just here 1 week and gone the next. Like this is someone that I know is here every week. This is someone who I know is going to see like growth and change, like not only in myself, but in my walk with Christ and things like that. And so, you know, sometimes we just have to listen, not just to respond, but just to hear and hear them out, because I'm like, I'm not your parent. So when you come to me with these things, I'm going to sit there and listen, but I may sometimes ask them, well, how did that make you feel? Like when you did that thing?
That's good.
And not come from a place where I'm disciplining them. That's not my job. That's the parent's job to do.
Yeah.
And so coming from a place where I'm just there to listen, but I'm there to guide and ask the questions, ask the why, ask, well, what do you feel you could have done differently? Or how did it make you feel when you did that? Like now, why have we reached this place? And things like that. And not coming from a place where I'm disciplining them, because that's it's not our job to do as a disciple. If we are discipling somebody, our job is not to discipline them. It is to disciple them and to help guide them in a sense.
So good. So thankful for y'all.
Yeah. Well, that even throws me back to like what you were talking about in the beginning about the yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes sir, no sir kind of mentality. Like older generations, including ours, like we're just taught you just obey your authority and you just yes sir everybody.
Yes.
And that's just not the world we live in anymore.
No,
It's more relational. Trust is earned. It's relational. And they have no problems being like, well, do you even care about me? Do you know my name? Do you?
Oh, yes.
Before they're going to be like, yes, sir. Like,
yes.
There's none of that, yes, ma'am, until there's a reason. Like, until there's like some money in the bank.
You might as well just be putting, my parents' generation in the grave.
Oh, they would die. Yeah.
Yeah. If that's something that's like, where's the respect? And things have to be taught, but it really does have everything to do with, do they know you to be able to speak into someone's life and it not just be, okay, I have to go. They're not going to listen to that constant correction without there being some sort of
kind of relational
I know
aspect.
you are for me. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's good.
You've talked about it a little bit, the role of consistency. So I was just looking through what happens when teenagers only have relationships with other teenagers. And because we know that we have a part, but also this will help with, this is why it's so important that it's not just peer relationships.
Yes. I think a lot of times it's because I've always heard the saying, like, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. And it's because a lot of times when they have these relationships, even with just people their age, like a lot of times you're all walking through the same thing together, but you may not know exactly how to get to the other side of it. Like I know even for me now, like being newly married, about to become a new mom, and I'm speaking from a sense because I am technically
You are.
like Gen Z
Yeah.
and all those
So,
things.
yeah.
But it's like there's new things that I'm going through now that I may have other friends. I have other friends who are getting married. I have other friends who are having kids. But we're all kind of walking through that same thing together, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
But sometimes I need to look to people who have already been through that for advice to see,
Right.
like, hey, what worked for you? How did you get through this season of life? And
For
I
sure.
think that's how it is even with, like, the younger generation, too, is they may be walking through stuff that they're going through at school and they're walking through it with their friends, but they may all just kind of be in the same boat and not really know how to get to the other side of it.
Sure.
And so then they need to look to people who are older than them to be like, hey, like, I'm going through XYZ. Have you been through that before? And
Yeah.
if so, how did you get through it? Because
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
friends may be in the same boat. They may kind of be in the same race together.
Right.
And they're both trying to get to the finish line, but somebody may have already made it to the finish line. And
Yeah.
so they need to look ahead to them to figure out how to get through that. And so not saying that, like, I mean, they need to have friends their age.
Yeah.
We all need to have people like
1,000%.
our age that are
Yes.
walking through the same season. But I do think it's also important to have people in your life that have already been through that season of life that you can look to for advice and for that wisdom and for that guidance.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably like the one disadvantage I would say of having just those peer-to-peer, like same age relationships is that it's hard to fully walk through that season if you don't know how to get through it the right way.
You know, there was a season where I guess I just kind of started maturing in my faith and started kind of growing probably over the last decade, I would say, of life. And I thought, man, I'm so slow. Like, why is it taking me this long to understand some things or to get something? And then the longer I looked and just kind of squinted at the world around me, it was like, there's some things that only come with time, that only come with maturity. And that's where, you know, the Bible tells the older women to teach the younger and all the, I think that's where our responsibility comes in. Not just, oh, it'd be nice if we kind of helped along. No, it's our responsibility in God's design for us to have like gathered wisdom on purpose because we've walked through the thing and been looking to Him for so long. And we have now a responsibility to pass that on. And so... Same reason, like you're saying, that I'm going to always be looking to somebody that's gone above me because they've developed a maturity that the people on my same level playing field just, and they can't be responsible for that.
Yeah.
They don't have a well that deep yet.
Yeah.
And so it's cool to kind of put that in perspective, but then to go, okay, so on my side to your side and then your side to down, and is a constant stair step of, I don't have the right to keep my pail to myself. Like I need to be digging in my well and handing it down.
Yes.
And it's like our actual calling to do that.
Yeah.
Well, I think of the world that
So
we live
rich.
in to where you're able to look, especially on your peers, you're going to follow like those that are doing something
Oh, yeah.
that you're doing and whatnot. And then all of a sudden that can become your formation because there's not an older person that's speaking like the truth, you're the identity that you carry. You know, you think about being a teenager or whatever, and something, a friend says something off to you, a teacher or a boyfriend or whatever, and all of a sudden you start to believe that about yourself. That is the gift of having seasoned people in your life to be able to speak truth, to be able to call out and be like, I promise you. Just like how we've all experienced, like, I know it hurts so bad right now, and I know it's so, like, you don't see a way out, but I promise you, it's not always going to be this way.
Yeah.
And think about the gift of
Yes.
having older women come in to be able to help this next generation to call out what they just cannot see for themselves.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. What do you think they're kind of just really deep down craving from an older generation? I'm not going to say an older woman because
That's us.
from those that have walked more years than them. Like, what, is there something that you're like, no, they know they need this from
From those that were born in the 1900s.
the 1900s?
almost there. I'm just kidding.
Oh, God.
I think a lot of it is more like just feeling seen and feeling valued. I think a lot of times they struggle to hear that from people their age. Because they're all in the same boat and they all fall into this idea of comparison and everybody wanting to be better than the other.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you may not have those people in your life that are your age calling out the best in you because they're just more looking at the best in themselves.
Right.
And so I think having somebody older that's like, hey, I see you. I think you would be good at this. Or I think you would do great serving in this sort of capacity. Or, hey, I see the Lord in you in this way.
Yeah.
Just like calling out like what they see in them that they may not be able to see in themselves or from the people around them. And so I think something that they would be craving and something that I, even myself, is just like, where do they matter?
Yeah.
Where do they fit in? Where are they valued the most? And that kind of makes them have that sense of belonging.
Yes.
That I can be a part of something bigger than myself, despite what age I'm at.
Yeah.
And so, I would say,
And what a responsibility the church has
yes,
to be able to do that, to step in.
yes,
And to speak wisdom, identity, like the gifts that you see in them, because they're not going to get that anywhere else.
No.
They're not. Nobody's going to say, "Hey, listen, this is the path God has for you."
Yeah.
Outside of the church, that is our job. And so, what a responsibility that it is on us to be able to speak that over. Gosh, I love this next generation. It's probably my favorite. Like I genuinely, I think through I think it's the authenticity, the part that they are like making it their own, where they have hard questions, but they're asking the hard questions where it would have been easier for me to be like, yeah, okay, that's what you said, so that's what I'm going to do. And not really understanding it. What gives you hope for this next generation?
I would say that, like, that they really just have a genuine, like, pursuit of the Lord and a genuine pursuit of the why behind everything. That they are a very curious, like, generation. Like, we want to know, like, a lot. Like I said, they have access to so much information, so they want to know what is the right way because they are exposed to so much. And so just being able to kind of have a little bit more guidance as to, like, okay, which way should I go? And I've noticed even just in our student ministry within the church and even our kids, like, they're all so on fire for the Lord. And that gives me so much hope because I'm like, this is going to be the next, like, these are the next people that are going to be the pastors and the worship leaders and things like that. Like, there's some people, and they're just not afraid.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Like, a lot of them, I feel like, have honestly, like, I feel like for me, when I was, like, I guess more in the Gen Alpha age, I guess I would say, like, confidence was a big thing.
Of course.
I think that I struggled with. And I'm seeing that, like, there's, like, a lot of these Gen Alphas that they are pretty confident in themselves.
Undeserved confidence.
Like, I'm like, I wish I had just a sprinkle of that.
But genuinely, we speak to that at our gatherings. We talk about, like, where it's rooted in. And so to see that actually take root and to see the fruit from it, God, it does. It fires me up because I'm like, oh, we're in good hands. Like, genuinely, they are asking the hard questions.
Yeah,
they are wanting to dig in, and how scary, but how, like, empowering.
Yeah, like, they're
is
not
it
ashamed
to
of
see?
it.
No.
Yeah. We're in good hands if we do our job.
That's right.
Yes.
Because they could use their powers for good or for evil.
Yes.
Yep, no doubt.
And when it's trained and focused. But I think that's where intentionality from our generations come in. What do you think could happen if the older generations, like, were really intentional with these guys coming up?
I think it would, I think it would give them more, like, assurance that, okay, like, we're not just looked at as, like, rotten, like, useless people. You know, like, I think of 1 Timothy 4:12, where it talks about, like, don't let anyone think less of you because you're young. Like, like we were talking about earlier, like, to me, age is just a number. Like, and I think when they have older people who are intentional with them that call out, hey, like, I know what you're walking through right now, or I've been through that season of life, like, you're going to get through it, and things like that. And now that they get to see the fruit of the other side of it because of what people who have gone before them have been able to accomplish, I think they need those older people in their lives that are going to look at them, that are going to value them, that are going to speak life over them, because you never know what they're hearing from people at school, people their age. Like I said, with social media being such a big thing nowadays, you don't know what they have access to. You don't know what is being seen behind the screen and things like that. And so it will help when older people who believe in the truth and know the truth are speaking that over their lives, so that way the access that they have and like the information that they are listening to is coming from somebody who has the right heart and who has the right motives to help them through. So
that's so good. Aren't you just so thankful for Lindsey? I'm so thankful to have a Lindsey in our life and in our kids' life, and it does make me just so thankful for, like, if you serve in any role that has anything to do with the next generation, what a gift. What a gift. I love to hear, like, our teachers, because, of course, they'll spill all the tea. They'll be like, so-and-so, not like, they're not sharing, but they are getting, like, to the root of what the kids are asking questions for or of. And so it's so fun. And it just makes me want to just say thank you. And thank you to every single person that is literally giving of your time, giving of your resources, literally doing the most for this next generation. I genuinely feel like it is a thing that we will not always see the fruit from, but it will be lasting fruit that is for generations to come. Lindsey, if you could say one thing directly to parents, to mentors, to teachers, to leaders, what would that be?
I would say just be present. I feel like a lot of times it can be scary when you think of, well, I've never worked with kids before, or like, I've never been a parent. Like, I don't know what to say to these kids and things like that. Just being there for them, honestly. Some of them, they're not expecting you to know all the answers to everything. They're not expecting you to respond to every single question that they have. They may just want somebody there just to know that somebody is there. You know, a lot of times we don't know what they're walking through in school. We don't know what they're walking through at home in their family lives or things like that. And they just need a presence there. And so that would be my encouragement, that even if you've never served with students, or even if you've never served in kids, if you've never been a parent, if you've never had a kid, whatever it may be, like, doesn't mean that makes you less of a person to be able to disciple to this next generation. Just, like I said, just simply being there for them. Sometimes that's all they need. And just being that example for them, setting the example for them through your actions, and just being more intentional about actually practicing what you may preach, and things like that. You know, it's hard for me. Like, if I were to tell a kid, hey, like, oh yeah, read your Bible, but if I'm not doing it, what's that going to say about me? That's not going to make them want to read their Bible. And so I think just being an example for them, and like I said, just being present in their lives, and just being present for them, and making yourself just open and available to them and things like that. So
this has been a cool conversation, because I know that just talking to you has even taken my intimidation factor down a little bit, you know, because I'm scared of them sometimes, just because I'm like, I know we're so
they're
cringe.
not as scary.
But like, what I've gathered from so much of what you said is that at the core, when you look past the things that we can judge easily, we're all the same. Like, you're like, what they need is somebody to be there and to speak into their lives. And I'm like, oh my God, that's the same thing I need. That's the same thing you need. That's what we talk about all the. So when you look past the things, we're all literally the same in our core, and just remembering that they need the same thing that we need from somebody else. And so knowing that this is the heart of what we're trying to build a community of women who believe in each other, but then that super duper believe in the next generation. That's right. For any youngins that are tracking with us, like, what would you say to the teenagers or to the young 20s listening today?
I would say, don't be afraid to reach out. Like, don't be afraid to ask the question. I mean, I know we've talked a lot about already that a lot of these people are not afraid to ask questions. Like, they do have a lot more confidence than I feel like some people used to have. And so don't be afraid to, like, seek out older, wiser counsel. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable either. I feel like a lot of times it's easy to, like, shut ourselves down and to close ourselves off. But just finding those people who are going to be consistent in your life. I know, and that's kind of where we're going back to, like, how can the older generation, you know, be a better mentor to the younger generation and bridging that gap. And it's just being consistent. It's going to be hard for a student or somebody who's younger, even like somebody in their 20s, to go up to somebody if they know they're just going to show up one day and be gone the next. And it's going to be harder to build that trust and to build that connection with them. And so I think a lot of times just being like finding those people who you know are going to be consistent, finding those people that you trust, getting involved, whether that be in serving, whether that be in a small group, whether that be even just getting planted in the local church. It doesn't necessarily have to be cultivated. Like I know a lot of people listen to this podcast.
Oh, they're in Germany right now.
You know, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, so just getting planted in a local church somewhere,
Yes.
just
Yes.
getting involved in a community of believers
Yes.
to know that you have people walking alongside you that share those same values that you do. And so, I would just say, like, to all the little young believers out there, or the people my age out there, like, don't be afraid to ask the questions. Don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to seek that wiser counsel and things like that, and just to get involved more in the community and in the church.
That's good.
Beautiful.
That's good, because we really, truly do need each other. Old people, older people,
Mid.
mid people, young people. We all need each other.
Yes.
You know, you can't get older and set in your ways and stop seeing what God's doing.
Yes.
That goes beyond what you know. And you can't be young and think you know it all, because you don't. You've not put in the years.
Yeah.
And so anything we can do to bridge the gaps and to take down walls where we can just all ask each other questions,
Yes.
you know, is going to just make everybody's faith grow deeper, relationship with the Lord grow richer.
Yeah.
And then more people fall in love with Jesus when that happens, because it's a true community and a true family, instead of like people hating on other generations. It's just so dumb, because the older generations don't have it all figured out, even though they've walked the walk.
Yeah.
The younger ones don't have it figured out because they haven't walked the walk.
Exactly.
But
really,
we come together.
it comes down to, are we still teachable?
Teachable.
And that doesn't matter. Like, there is no age on that. We have to be teachable. We have to know, like, hey, I don't speak that language, so teach me that language. I don't know what it means to do ... so teach me. It really does, if we are willing to be vulnerable, just like you said, and to like put ourselves out there and realize, hey, we ain't got it all figured out, but we don't have to be perfect in that.
No.
We can just be present. Yeah.
And realizing that the world is truly more complicated
really
now
is. Yeah.
than it ever was when we were growing up.
Yeah.
So walk into it with compassion
Yes.
and grace, realizing that something may look away compared to the way you grew up back in the day, but that doesn't mean it's worse. That doesn't mean it's stupid. That doesn't mean they're shallow.
Yeah.
It's just different. We need to approach it with grace and compassion. And it's our responsibility to learn how to disciple them well. So,
That's right.
Yes.
well, Lindsey, thank you so much for this conversation.
you,
I feel
guys.
supercharged because of it. So I hope everybody else does too.
Well, learned a lot from y'all too. So
Well, hopefully we'll continue doing that forever.
yes.